Let's rock.
So yeah, it really is like that Gauntlet because that uh, Cold Snap actually goes through and is still a commonality in the final deck because it rotated with
I think we finally started because I see a single exited host mode.
ooh, only one today.
Only one. So what are we doing today, Jens?
Okay.
If this splash screen does not explain it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the splash screen explains everything we need to know about it. So we're going to be playing in the Ravnica era throwback standard gauntlet. This is I started playing in Kamigawa, but I didn't start playing like a lot, like in tournament level stuff until like or following tournament level stuff at all until Ravnica. And Ravnica is when I started building real decks and playing against real decks. It is one of the most vibrant standard formats that exists. It has so many different active decks that existed across many colors, a lot of combinations. There were a lot of different, and it even had the trio. It had multiple different combo decks, multiple different control decks, multiple different aggro decks.
And a lot of them were really good. It's like you had all these. They printed a lot of good cards in Ravnica, and a lot of important cards got reprinted in 8th edition. So like,
Yeah.
there were a lot of stuff around.
So we have now the Ravnica, the league here has 9 different decks. Which with one of those being the asterisk on the stream because it's a time spiral Lorwyn deck for some reason. I know why the reason is, but it still
It's a
feels like
bad reason.
it feels very arbitrary.
They could have just waited 2 months, and it wouldn't be arbitrary.
But but the thing is, there's 9 decks in here, so 8 decks from the format, and there's another like 8+ that aren't on here. For every one that does exist, there's another well-known deck that just isn't here. So
like Charlie O says in the chat, Ghostad. Ghostad's not on the list. Hand in Hand is, which
yeah,
does not a real hand deck, kind of, but does play 4x Ghostad.
yeah, it is a Ghost Dad deck, but it's not like the it's not the Shining Shoal, Sickening Shoal, Pillory of the Sleepless Tallowisp deck, which was what you did with that. It was such a good engine. I'm kind of stunned that they didn't put it on here because like they talk about Owling Mine being the most requested Gauntlet deck in here. I don't know how Ghost Dad wasn't number 2. Right? That's it. How do you not have like? I don't know. It feels like a very large oversight. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump in and see what deck we do end up with. I can talk about the history of that deck, what it is, and then we could talk about what we'll be competing against. So
And Jens is really, really hoping that we don't get Owling Mine, so
yeah,
I.
1 and 9.
You want to live forever? And we have we have
Oh,
we have Owling Mine.
you got it. You got what you wanted.
Yeah, we got the worst deck in the Gauntlet.
All right.
What
So
is this awful deck?
let me talk to you about Owling Mine. I can tell you the entire history of this deck.
It's the one-shot wonder.
This is a deck that existed for 2 days, exactly 2 days, and was and people tried to play it after those 2 days. It was not good past those 2 days because people knew it. The entire deck is called Owling Mine, based on the 2 cards that we have right here, the Ebony Owl Netsuke. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if they have 7 or more cards in hand, Ebony Owl Netsuke deals 4 damage. And then Howling Mine, at the beginning of each player's draw step, if Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. The idea being that we use Remand, Boomerang, which can bounce lands, Eye of Nowhere, a sorcery boomerang that can bounce lands, to keep our opponent unable to play true threats or resources, and then they lose to Ebony Owl Netsuke or Sudden Impact.
We're also playing 4x Kami of the Crescent Moon as another copy of Howling Mine.
Yes, look at that grin.
It blocks some creep. Blocks Curd Ape.
Yeah, this is like your 5th Howling Mine. It is a legend, so you can't have multiples of it. But you also get a ninth and 10th Howling Mine in Mikakoro. There were some legendary lands that were pretty good so Saviors is rightfully so maligned for being an absolutely dreadful set.
It's got good lands in it though. Lots of good. You'll see the black one in this a lot.
Well, the black one that's one from Champions.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't remember which set they're all from because they all blend together.
I know they all blend together, but Mirren the Moaning Well is the other one I am thinking of, which allows you to sacrifice a creature to gain life equal to its toughness.
Let's see, Ganjo Castle from Champions as well?
That's from Champions, because that's a cycle.
All right, figures.
So,
Full of owls.
So this deck is extremely straightforward. We are going to be playing, if we're playing against a control deck, if we're playing against a slower deck, something like Solar Flare, which we'll talk about when we either run into it or afterwards. If we're playing against Solar Flare or Izzatron, we're going to be disrupting their mana base. Same with, actually, Dragonstorm's got to have hell against bouncing lands. We're going to be disrupting their mana base, not allowing them to play cards, and making them overdraw. If we're playing against an aggressive deck, however, Owling Mine has a lot of problems keeping them full of cards because they could generally just cast everything they play, which is why we have things like Threads of Disloyalty and Pyroclasm on the side.
Yeah, like if we end up against Zoo, we just like completely sideboard into a Maloku deck. Like we just take out the package as much of it we can and just put in Clasms and Leaks and Threads.
So I said I'd talk about the history of this deck and why it's a one-shot wonder. This was a deck played at exactly one event that it did well at. This was at was that Honolulu? No. Yeah, it might have been Honolulu was the pro tour. Anyway, this was a single pro tour where a few players realized that the most popular decks in the format were ones that weren't able to empty their hand quickly. You know, they were people. They figured that the pros were, and rightfully so for a lot of them, but not all of them. They figured that the pros were valuing Beach House, which was a deck created by a number of pros who were staying at a beach house at Honolulu. But that's a deck that plays Loxodon Hierarch, 5-drop, or sorry, 4-drop. And like a lot of big mid-range threats. And
if you can't put 4 lands in play, then it doesn't matter what you're doing on 4.
Right. So they figured, like, okay, people are going to be valuing those mid-range decks over the aggressive decks. Let's make this really, like, this very niche deck that beats the hell out of the control decks and those, but, like, it doesn't fold to aggro, but it needs to change its plan pretty heavily for it and play a little differently.
That's why our sideboard is extremely reactive.
Yeah. This was very successful at that Pro Tour, and afterwards, not really.
Yeah, because it turns out that if you're just playing like artifact removal at all, like there's decks that are playing 10 Street Hooligan around, then you have like, kind of trouble keeping your win cons in play. Plus, this is a hard deck to play. It is not a hard deck. It's not a particularly hard deck to play against, because their plan is straightforward, so you know what they're doing.
Yeah. The biggest trick with playing this deck is that it is simple enough to identify what your plan is, but once you're playing against some sort of aggressive deck that you can't just bounce their land on 2, on 3, on 4, all of a sudden you need to be a little more...
Decks playing 1-drops. Yeah.
So this deck was a sucker punch, and that's it. Basically, and we've had that sort of deck in Magic a couple times, the sucker punch that is the one-shot wonder.
It shows up for a single event, nobody sees it coming, and then nobody ever plays it again, but everybody's sideboard has a card for it against
I want to say Swans of Bryn Argol, the deck that was 40 lands, Swans, Seismic Assault, and Cascade cards. That was another type of one-shot wonder. Anyway, I've talked enough. Let's go ahead and get some Magic going.
I don't know what Ascendancy deck you mean, Squirrel Token, because Jeskai combo is still played pretty heavily in Modern right now. Because it's like... Yeah, it was not super heavily, but it's like a known deck.
Okay.
the combos, because the combo in Modern is way better than it was in Standard. In Standard, it kind of was a
Lost in the Woods was never a... Okay, this is a hand I'm willing to keep.
yeah. It's got a Rowl, it's got a Howling Mine, it's got 2 Howling Mine, it's got something to do on 1.
Yeah.
It's got an Eye to Nowhere.
Now the question is, do we Eye to Nowhere? What does Forest tell us?
Okay, I'll look. Forest is Ghazi Glare, Greater Good, Zoo possibly.
The Ghazi Lair is the
prob-
most... well, what do you... How do you feel on this?
Remand. What you want to pick their remand or you want remand or remand?
One has to go bottom, one has to go top.
I think I like remand here.
Did anybody ever bring Lost in the Woods to Standard? No, because that doesn't work. There was like actual enchantment hate in that era. Also, like Drown Yard existed in that era. Like I don't think you could win with that. And
so what do we want to do first?
We'll see. We'll see what our opponent does and react a little bit.
Temple Garden. I'll look for commonalities between Forest and Temple Garden. I think that's Ghazi Glare though. I'm thinking it is. It still could be Greater Good gifts.
I'm gonna bounce there, Temple Garden.
Seems fine.
We'll get Howling Mines going soon.
And then we'll have the Netsuke. I wish that was
Yep.
They're gonna play it again. Play it tapped. You just want to do it again, or do you want to remand them instead?
I'm thinking about remanding instead if something goes. Oh man, what if? Nah, let's push them back. They'll have to discard.
Yeah. Unless they have a play here.
The hope here is that I get to play a Howling Mine plus hold up remand. By the way, this is what the deck does.
Yeah. Okay, they're just going to keep not taking the shock, so they have no hope.
Kagamaru.
Okay, they are. That puts them solidly into Greater Goods gifts. So this is a deck that's playing Goryo's Vengeance and Gifts Ungiven.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and play Kami of the Crescent Moon first because I might have to, like, Howling Mine for, and leave blue up. Okay, so they're going to get to finally make a play. And, oh, well, okay, we don't get to...
Kadama's Reach.
Well, that's good. Bouncing their lands for that long was the correct play then.
Yeah. So they're playing Wraths, their Wraths do absolutely nothing. Like that Kagamaru doesn't do, other than being a large creature, which it currently would be if it was in play.
Yeah. Okay, we want another land. Okay, we gotta pay 2 life for this.
Yeah, we can easily afford that.
I'm thinking I'm gonna play an Ebony Owl.
You start getting our clock going.
Yeah, and we can leave up a remand for the real play.
Sadly, no decks played Hidetseku's Second Right because of our deck contains Shivan Reef.
Yeah.
Which means we cannot die to.
So they have 9 cards in hand, and our remand is going to keep it that way.
They got their black. They're going to gifts us.
No.
Nope. You don't get to do that.
You don't get to do that. I think they die. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we sudden impact them, and they take an owl again. Alright. Owls.
Does their deck contain life gain in any way?
I'll take a look. Let's see, Kagamaru, Yosei, Kakusho.
Okay.
They're playing 2x Kakusho. So if they can Goryo's Vengeance a Kakusho out, they would.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and play another owl. And we're gonna leave up another remand.
And then next turn we can impact them for all the bananas.
Or just play Howling Mines and they die, because they're gonna take. They have 7 cards in hand, so the owl is going to deal 8 damage from owl. 8 damage owl.
They also can't stop the sudden impact. They have no counter magic.
Yeah.
It just happens.
So this is what happens when this deck plays against somebody with no early game. We stopped this Kodama's Reach for 3 full turns.
Man, their sideboard against us looks pretty crappy too. Like they have Rending Vines and Cranial Extraction.
Wow.
Like that's it.
So So I'm allowing this to happen because I want to remand a more relevant spell if one shows its face.
I guess they have Soulless Revival they could do. If we remand to that, they can't replay it.
Yeah, because they're off,
They don't have green.
and they have 7 cards in hand now. So let's end
Hooray!
it.
Okay. I don't think we do. We have any meaningful.
So here's an interesting thing. I want you to take a look at our opponent's board because the deck our opponent's playing, Greater Gifts, which we didn't get to explain what it is because our opponent didn't do anything. Greater Gifts is a deck that's extremely powerful in the late game, has infinite card draw, this engine that just keeps going, and is a 4-color deck. So you'd think, 4-color, I have the secret. I will slide in Blood Moon. But take a look at this mana base. Because
Yeah, they're playing Kodama's Reach and Sack Tribe and Farseek. So they have as long as they have Forest, they have perfect mana forever.
Yeah, I do not believe there is anything that would be useful to bring in, and more importantly, I don't think there's anything that's useful to bring out.
Yeah, the Mana Leak isn't super great here. I think like if we not as like a sideboard in. Evac is a little weird here because if they have the Greater Good in hand, Evac doesn't do anything. But if they don't have the Greater Good in play, then that puts the card the exact place they don't want it, which is their hand. So I don't know.
I'm gonna keep as is. And now this is also one of the things about the deck is that playing on the draw rather than on the play is a lot harder.
Yeah, for one, they know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're mulliganing down to defeat us.
Oh shit!
Like, what if they just roll down to one card? Like, what the fuck do we do? Nintendo Nice Bridge.
Nice.
Do we play the Steam Vents here? No, we want to get our...
Yeah, we'll slide a hand. I'm gonna take that Kami.
Yeah, we don't have a, we have Fixing, but we don't have a Howling Mine yet. That could just be the... That's probably not the play next turn.
We'll see. If they have a Sack Tribe, it could be the play.
Farseek, that's basically a Sack Tribe.
Now, the problem is that the Kami of Crescent Moon is going to, like, fix the fact that they're low on cards.
Yeah.
I think I'm still okay with that right now.
How does their deck win? Their deck wins through beating you to death with dragons, locking you out of the game with Yosei, draining your life with Kakusho, and drawing a bunch of cards.
Yeah. When we talk about mid-range decks or decks that are like grindy value, this is what comes out in my. Would Blood Moon be a side we could have put in? I do not believe it would be worthwhile.
Yeah, because like the Farseek and the Kodama's Reach right there, like they haven't even spent their Nintendo Nice Bridge counter yet.
Okay, I think I'm gonna sleight a hand and then pass with remand up.
That seems fine.
Oh, actually, I could exhaustion and just
fog.
Like no, they don't untap, so it's time walk.
Yeah, do you want? It's almost time walk. You want a time walk?
Yeah, we want to kind of get them set up with a lot of cards in hand for this owl.
Yeah.
Time walk might be better next turn with like remand done. Let's.
We can either, yeah, we have to commit now, like before we slight. Let's time walk.
Let's time walk.
I like time walk. Plus we get to attack for one.
Yeah.
There's no path. There's no
we'll
path.
See. We will get to see hopefully what this deck does. If not, we'll talk about its engines, and I will go and pull up the cards that make it. It's called Greater Gifts. It is around Gifts Ungiven and Greater Good.
At Goryo's Vengeance. Mm-hmm. They didn't play a basic.
Cool, they missed their land drop. Oh!
Oh, man. Do we do it again? Or do we hold up double remand?
No, we time walk again.
Yeah, time walk in.
Actually, hold on. We should slight first.
Just in case something changes. Think we take the owl, or do we want the land?
Take the owl.
If we could play... I don't like playing owl nude here.
They only have 6 cards in hand. It doesn't trigger immediately. I don't like it.
At the beginning of each... Actually...
This is upkeep versus draw step.
Okay. I was wondering when Kami happened and when owl happened.
Yep. So, no interaction there between the two.
Exhaustion's a hell of a card, by the way.
Yeah. You don't untap.
Okay, they found a land.
Okay. I'm gonna play an owl and pass with
Well,
remand up.
yeah, pass with remand. Possibly we could either remand or boomerang. Depends on what we need. Like if they just pass and don't do anything, do we just boomerang Watery Grave?
Oh yeah, if they don't actually do anything, I would bounce a land, and then I think we would win the game.
Yeah, they're probably going to cast like a small ramp creature.
Well, I'm here to remand like the big threat, which we
How many
should see
times
sooner or later.
how many times can we hit by our own owl zero at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep?
If that player,
They could replay the sack tribe if we remanded it.
yeah, I'm not willing to remand that. I'm only willing to remand something of true value.
Yeah, because they could blow their nice bridge.
I'm willing to boomerang their watery grave though.
Zoop. A card that would never be printed anymore? Or are they going to gifts?
They could gifts in response here, but they'll lose the game if they do. Oh, putrefy. All right, that will do.
I didn't even see the putrefy. That makes a lot of sense. They're playing one putrefy and none on the board, so that's their only putrefy. That's why I didn't see it.
Yep. So we draw our extra card.
That's one of the reasons we don't mind just blowing these cards that don't do anything. Is that the Howling Mind goes both ways. Our cards make them do nothing, and our cards don't benefit us any, but they also don't cost us anything.
Now, I could go for a win on their draw step with sudden impact, but I'm just going to play it slow.
Yeah, there's no reason
We
to.
have two remands. I don't feel any need to be pressured on what we're doing.
You could remand and plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can also I have nowhere, nothing, and then impact them.
Yeah, next turn we can just kill them after we remand a bunch of cards. Yeah, so the owl is all right. Locks it on Hierarch. That is their attempt to gain some life and stay in the game. This is probably just going to get a concession if I were them. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
hey,
okay.
we took a game with Owling. Let's take a look at Greater Good
Yeah.
Gifts.
So we'll do a little bit of talking about Greater Good Gifts. Greater Gifts was a deck that existed. Are they playing the correct version? Which is to say, does their version have no? They're again. This is weird. They have a number. Okay, no, they picked the one from 2005 Worlds, but that's the earliest version of it with Goryo's Vengeance. So let's talk about Greater Good Gifts because this deck existed in again. A lot of the decks that exist in this era have like versions. Howling Mind doesn't because Howling Mind existed at one time and was like a deck that day. But Greater Gifts is a deck that is a deck that revolves around has a number of different versions and variants as time went on, but it all stems around a card called Greater Good.
It's a funky enchantment from 9th edition.
Yeah, so Greater Good. Let me pull up the art that I want here instead, which is so 9th edition one. This is where it wasn't standard. Sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to that creature's power, then discard 3.
Mm-hmm.
So the deck would play this, and then would use.
Yeah. Fuck Yosuke. Yeah, bring this guy.
Yeah, Yosei the Morningstar. So Yosei the Morningstar would. You'd play it, you'd sacrifice it, you'd draw 5 cards, discard 3, and then your opponent would be completely tapped out and not untap, much like the exhaustion we just played.
Mm-hmm.
The deck also, this version of the deck would play Goryo's Vengeance, which allows you to return a legendary creature card from your grave to field, give it haste, and then exile it at the end of turn. But
if you sacrifice it instead of letting it exile itself, you get the benefit of sacrificing it, and B, it goes back into your graveyard, so you can Goryo's Vengeance it again.
Yep.
Plus, it gets haste, so you can attack with it.
Yeah. The other.
This one uses Kakusho.
Kakusho was the other dragon used in the deck, this was the finisher. Yosei was the one that this one would allow you to both life gain and drain them down very quickly. Yosei allowed you to just lock, because when you draw 5 cards and then you draw your 6th return, it's very likely that you're able to draw either another Yosei or another Goryo's Vengeance, or this deck played Recollect as well, and
Yeah, recollect and reclaim, 1x reclaim. Put target
now
like a single X of a.
the later versions of this deck had a much more straightforward way to finish a game, playing an enchantment called Debtor's Knell, which allows you to, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a creature from your grave into play. So you sack the Yosei, lock your opponent down, they can't untap, you draw 5 and discard 3, and
And then you get Yosei again
and
later.
then you get Yosei again next turn,
Mm-hmm.
and you do that every turn, and your opponent literally has no way to stop you. The other parts of this deck are the other moving parts. This deck owes a lot to the block constructed Gifts Ungiven deck. Gifts Ungiven being a powerful card from Kamigawa that allows you to search for 4 cards with different names. Your opponent chooses 2 to the yard, and you get the other 2. But if you choose cards that are relatively similar or have ways of recurring them, such as if you get like Goryo's Vengeance, you don't care as much.
Or as the trick shot, you can just pick 2 cards.
And put
Like
them
if you just go, okay, I go and I tutor for Yosei and Kakusho. It's like, put 2 of those into my graveyard, please.
So that's Greater Good. Greater Good and variance existed throughout the format for a long time because the engine of, for one, like once the Gifts engine rotated, it still existed in different ways. Though Solar Flare took over a little bit of its speed moves. Anyway, this was a deck that had a lot of different evolutions. The one that we see here, I believe, is one of the earlier evolutions, because Debtor's Knell was one of the later. I definitely remember Debtor's Knell being a powerful card in that archetype.
And this is also one of the more powerful matchups for our kind of funky deck. This is basically a kind of deck that our deck was designed to beat. Because they are playing a lot of creature removal in their deck that does jack all against us, other than maybe kill a Howling Mine.
Yeah.
Like if you can even cast your Wrath of God in this matchup, which they could have the last game, it would have just killed a Tomorrow.
Yep. So that deck is exactly what Howling Mine was meant to prey on, and that's
a Crescent of the Counter, not Tomorrow. Tomorrow is someone's familiar.
Whenever you draw a card, you look at the top 3 and like you impulse.
Yeah, different. I just think a lot of him because he's also like a 1/5.
Yeah,
it's like a 1 power creature.
Yeah. So, but I definitely want to go into detail about each of these because there's a lot of different like variations to talk about, and a lot of different, like, so if we see Ghazi Glare, for instance, Ghazi Glare was a deck that existed for a long time as well. It was a very powerful choice in the format. Very powerful choice.
Yeah. And that is exactly what
wow, I think there's only 2 mountains in our list.
Yeah, very few of them. Also, yes, this is precisely why more modern effects like that, like Whip of Erebos, all say if it would die, exile it instead. And even then, there's still funky interactions with it.
This isn't great, but I'll keep it.
Like Whip of Erebos even got to interact with the Origin Walker pretty briefly.
Right. Ooh, yes.
I don't think we want that. Yeah.
We want that. We definitely want to have that. Iganjo Castle. So Iganjo Castle was part of a cycle. You're going to be seeing these in a lot of the decks because they're effectively a better planes in a lot of senses, or like the whole cycle. Shizo Death Storehouse being the one that I think saw the most play.
This could either be, I don't think, because there's no Hisamaru, I don't think this is Zoo. This could be Solar Flare or Hand. We want that eye because we can play it sooner, even though Evac could be really good here.
We'll see what our opponent does. Battlefield Forge.
I think that.
Oh, hello.
Okay, we found we found the aggro. This is in fact Zoo. They just missed up their 1-drop. Curd Ape, not very impressive unless you control a forest.
Yeah, so this is going to be hard to set up against, especially pre-board. I kind of want to Howling Mine, but that really can backfire quickly.
It could. Our other option is to either bounce Curd Ape or
Well,
bouncy
hell,
like a Battlefield Forge.
the reason I want a Howling Mine is just so I can assure a land drop next turn.
Yeah, so we can exhaust them.
Yeah. Okay.
Their creatures and lands will be tapped. I can assure you.
Yeah, this is lands and creatures, so yeah, this is one of the matchups that's going to be of the other side. This is the deck that you do not want to be facing as the Owling Mine player.
Might just be getting rid of as many of these cards as possible and like putting in Clasm, Threads of Disloyalty, Maloku.
Okay, they didn't draw Forest. That's good. They're actually pretty
Yeah,
light here.
they mulliganed and they mulliganed and kept a pretty poor hand, but they kind of had to.
Right. Let's see if they have a third land. Oh, so the deck we're playing against is Zoo. And so when we talk about Zoo, we've talked about Zoo for a long time as this like red, green, white aggressive deck that plays 1 and 2 drop creatures and tries to get under your opponent as quickly as possible. And I think I've even had it where I've said Zoo and people are all like, well, that's such a weird name for it. This is the first Zoo deck, and the reason it's called Zoo can
It's
be very
because
apparent.
you're playing apes and cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Like you're just playing animals.
Yeah, the entire deck is Watch Wolf, Savannah Lion, Curd Ape. Like it's
Even like Izumaru.
yeah.
Uh, the only one with a job in this deck is Burning Tree Shaman,
Yeah.
who is a Centaur Shaman. What do we got?
Hell
Should we just their Battlefield Forge? Or Savannah Lion? Like we can afford to take a little bit of damage here if we want to set them back on lands.
yeah, because we'll be exhausting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Wild Nikotl certainly wasn't standard. Like we're like in this deck, it's Watch Wolf, a 2-mana 3/3. It's Curd Ape, a 1-mana 2/3. A Savannah Lions, Izumaru, Hound of Konda. This is a very this is it was called Zoo because it was all the animals in the zoo.
Although Wild Nikotl was definitely they take the shot. Nikotl was definitely a zoo deck when it was around, which was funny because it completely ignored Naya's gimmick and was just like 1-mana 3/3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nikotl is a zoo card,
Yeah.
just not a zoo card.
Definitely, yeah. So Nikotl is definitely, yeah. Oh, okay, that's fine. Is a zoo card in the sense that it is played in modern zoo decks and is the defining card of it. But zoo as a concept, as a deck, was created here, right now. This deck that we are playing against is zoo.
Oh, right. I didn't notice the Kami of Ancient Law because on this deck list, Kami of Ancient Law is not under creatures for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So if we don't draw a land here, I'm pretty sure we lose.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. That'll be a powerful card later. But for now, not really a time walk because we're going to be taking
Yeah. But I am going to exhaustion because I need to slow my opponent's roll very heavily.
we might exhaust next turn too, in which case their Kami will probably be tapped, and if they don't find a creature here, they have a land they can tap because they have the Battlefield Forge.
Yep.
I can't imagine they have 7 cards in hand and no creatures. Up.
I need another land here. Oh my god, remands are so bad in this match. These need to be Clasms so badly.
Yeah. Everything we just exhaust again.
Not having a land there is killer and might just be the loss condition of the game.
Could be, yeah.
I need to draw a land next turn, eye to nowhere something, and then remand something else.
And then later we can have like an
like
evac turn.
Yeah, hopefully I like evac and then get to like Ebony Owl plus sudden impact and maybe we get through. Watch Wolf, alright.
You're taking damage.
Damage is good, we kind of need that. So we need to draw land. Okay, good start.
Yeah.
I believe I'm going to Eye of Nowhere.
Either the Stomping Ground or the Watch Wolf.
I think the Watch Wolf.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave up Remand because I want to cycle the damn thing to make sure I hit my 5th land.
Yeah. The other option would be to owl here and take 6. Yeah, not having the Clasms or like a Wrath effect here is really bad.
We're also off. Yeah, so we saw all the animals that make up Zoo. Okay, cool. More burn is good here. We kind of need that to happen. However, we do have the problem of, when I say burn, this is an arrow with Lightning Helix and Char and Flames of the Blood Hand. Our opponent could kill us straight.
Yeah, the most famous moment in all of Magic involved this deck.
Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most illegal maneuver. Okay, they're discarding.
And they're just gonna hold up the burn. Do I have to pretend it doesn't exist? Like,
I think so. Like,
I think that's the only way.
Evac on their combat step.
Yeah. And hope they don't have 7 points of burn, which is just 2 cards.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, those Eyes of Nowhere not being Boomerang are going to kick our ass.
Uh-huh, Helix. Flames, yeah, we'll lose right here. Because if I counter the Flames, it's just a remand, they'll recast it or just attack for lethal, and I can't stop that.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have lots of sideboarding to do.
I don't think we have enough of a sideboarding to do.
Like...
So, Clasms, obviously, and I feel like Threads of Disloyalty are good here as well because of how they deal with, like, Watchwolf.
Mm-hmm.
Remand is garbage here.
Remand's rather poor.
Which is, I'm going to swap in the Threads here. I don't think we can bring out the whole package is the problem.
Yeah, I don't think we can bring all of it out. Do we swap, like, the eyes for some Pyroclasm?
Maybe, like, bring in the Pyroclasms and, like...
It would either be that or Sudden Impact.
The Clasms are definitely going in as well. I like the Sudden Impacts because we can actually make use of them if we, like, Exhaustion, and, like, that's one of our ways to deal enough damage to kill our opponent. I'm gonna go with some of the eyes.
So...
Like, hold on, Blood Moon actually could be useful here, too, in the sense that we saw how many non-basics our opponent's on.
Yeah, like, if we can turn how many forests are they actually playing, too?
Yeah, I think Blood Moon actually sounds good in this matchup, so...
Because they're kind of base white.
Yeah.
The red is very, like, the red is just for basically Curd Ape and Burning Tree. So if we can get off some of their mana, what do we not like here then?
Kind of want to say, like, one of our mines and maybe an owl.
Just go down on that plan.
Yeah, we can't get rid of the plan, because that is our game plan at the end of the day, is winning through this.
Do we prefer Kami of the Crescent Moon to Howling Mine?
It can block most of their creatures. It guys that are removal, but it can block a lot of their creatures too. So.
That's very fair then.
It lists the Pyroclasm. I don't know. This is, again, I talked about this being a deck that you kind of need to be very familiar with in order to know how to play it correctly against these sorts of decks, and I am not. So,
yeah. Would we like to play first?
Owl,
yes.
Owl doesn't harm you. Owl's one-sided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just, like... Our plan is to block with Kami of Ancient Law until they commit 2 creatures to the board.
Yeah.
Or maybe we want more.
Works fine by me. Pyroclasm is something I'll cast if it's ever a 2-for-1, or if they play a Curd Ape that is killable by it.
Currently not.
And there it is, the Curd Ape, so...
But we can block that. Kind of. They might just draw a card off Kami and then Lightning Helix.
Yeah, they could just draw a card, Helix it, and then, like, whoops, we gave our opponent a card for free. We can't.
Yeah, the class. Yeah, Stomping Ground is the card that made Curd Ape perfect.
I'm willing to block though, because there's very few cards that would punish me that wouldn't already punish me. You know.
It's all 3 or more damage anyway.
Shock is the card that would punish me, and then
don't think they're even. Yeah, they're playing
They're
Shock.
playing Shock.
Yeah, they're playing.
I
But
named,
hey, we gained 2 life.
I named the card, and therefore it showed up. Izumaru. Let's sleight of hand. Let's make it look like we're a little desperate here.
Just pick another one.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to do Lorwyn. I have a feeling they're going to skip Lorwyn and go to Shards instead. Because if they did Lorwyn, it would just be... Like, the problem is, like, even in both of those, like, there's one deck that overshadows everything else in the format.
It would just be Fae. You could pretend there were other decks, but... Man, where's that Blood Moon at?
Yeah, that would turn off their entire... Blood Moon would not only turn off their entire board, but it would make the Kurdape not on, and we could kill it.
Now, are they going to Shock again, or are they just attacking because they have free attacks?
I think they're attacking because they have free attacks.
I would like to draw cards off our own Kami of Ancient Law. Or not Kami. Kami of the Crescent Moon.
Oh, shit!
Jite? Oh my god. Oh,
Fuck. Fuck. Hell.
It's fine. We kill their guy. No, we let whatever gets the Kurdape... Okay, I think we Clasm here.
Do we Clasm or double Clasm? Because, like, we can double Clasm and the board goes.
Yeah, we can double Clasm and the board goes. If we single Clasm, they put the Jite on Kurdape. We just let it in, and then we can Threads of Disloyalty at the Kurdape.
Yeah, but then they still control the Jite.
We don't have an answer for the Jite ever.
Yeah, but, like, if I don't... I think we double Clasm.
Okay.
Like, we get in our point, and we double Clasm. Like, Threads of Disloyalty steals their next threat, as long as it's not Burning Tree. And we just kind of hope that what they have is a lot of burn, and, like, not creatures, because Jite... So, welcome to Jite. Jite was the defining card for the entirety of its standard existence. I cannot stress this. This card was... Like, decks that didn't really even play creatures played this as a way to kill your opponent's Jite. You know how we talk about, like, this format is, like, you know, battle reenactments, where, you know, it's like Custer's Last Stand sort of reenactment sort of thing. This card here is the reason why it's...
Well, we found the creature we have to Threads.
That's fine, because they're equipping Jite to it.
Okay.
It's because normally the way Jite works is you would play Jite just to answer your opponent's Jite. I want to sleight of hand first.
Yeah, we can't use the counters from Jite, but as long as it would let us steal whatever they Jite onto, you know. And we don't attack because it gives them Jite counters.
It gives them counters. Yeah, that's the problem here. But we do get to steal their Kami of Ancient Law.
Hopefully they don't have another.
Threads of Disloyalty was a card that saw limited play in Standard, like in sideboards like this, but really saw a second win in... Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they boarded in a Naturalize so that...
Yeah, makes sense.
They could kill our owls and stuff.
Well, we just do it again, so that's fine.
Wait, where'd they get that Naturalize from? Naturalize is not in their sideboard.
What?
3 Guerrilla Tactics, 1 Flames of the Blood Hand, 2 Giant Solofuge, 2 10 Street Hooligan, 3 Hunted Wumpus, 4 Umezawa's Jite.
Wait a minute. Where did this come from?
Where did Naturalize come? Not in the main deck. Main deck instants are Bathe in Light, Char, Flames of the Blood Hand, Lightning Helix, Shock.
What?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, there's no... Where did the Naturalize come from?
Okay, we're taking damage. That's fine. No, this is a 60 card, 15 board. Like,
No, Zoo is not the incomplete deck. No, they have 60 cards. 19, 20,
okay,
22.
they are empty-handed.
Okay, and of course they. And of course, we can get rid of the counters on GT by bouncing GT if ever needed.
Now, here's a cool thing. Iganjo Castle has text.
Yeah.
I should have boarded in Moloku.
I was thinking about it. Like, if we took out the owls and the sudden impacts, we could actually turn into a Moloku control deck that's just playing Howling Mines. Okay. Yeah, boomerang, asshole.
Eat it. Eat it.
Yeah, why doesn't it have naturalize? Where did they get the naturalize?
I don't know.
There's 2x naturalize in Ghazi Glare sideboard.
That's a powerful technique.
I would file for something about that.
Well. Give me that.
Yep, ask our opponent where they got the naturalize. I don't know if that would go well.
Yeah. What is Kaladesh Shock doing in the list? Yeah. Now the Shock was a. No, this is great. Okay. They still.
No, this is a way for them to get their counter. No, we're killing a creature and getting counters off of GT.
I know, but isn't that great?
Why do they do that though?
To make sure I don't have an attacker.
And give them counters? We would never do that.
I hate having to do this, but I need card. Okay, another threat.
Okay.
We're gonna lose to burn is the problem here.
Yeah, we don't have any counter spells.
Yeah, I think Moloku was a definite need here. However, look at this. If we're just gonna get burned by a Helix.
Yeah, Mono Leak would not have been great at this point.
Yeah, we needed a threat that mattered. Okay, so I know that I have made a misstep on my boarding, and that's okay.
Okay, they have a forge or foundry.
Okay, Kami of the Crescent Moon is like at least a body. No, can't afford that.
See, now the problem becomes: can we mine faster than we die to the cards they draw?
Right, that's the problem.
Which is in some matchups the answer is yes. In this matchup, the answer is no.
They're drawing a lot of lands, and we can Klasm threats like big threat. You know, like Izumaru. We can't Klasm Izumaru.
Can threads it though?
Well, how about I bounce Iganjo Castle?
That seems fair. And we just Klasm and attack.
So Iganjo Castle prevents 2 damage to a legendary, meaning that it stops Klasm. Okay, so let's bounce Iganjo Castle of all things.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I need another card.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. It's our path to victory.
Okay.
Ooh. Doesn't really do anything.
Well, we play the Klasm.
I think we play Howling Mine too. Or do we leave up evac?
No, they don't have haste threats.
Okay.
This is so going to kill us. I might exhaustion here too.
Just to keep burn off of them?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, this is our only way of winning.
Yeah, like drawing double sudden impact and then evacing or something like that. That is how we win. I'm gonna exhaustion.
How's the stream looking? Like bits and frames.
Poor.
Okay. I was just noticing some Skype jackies, and I was wanting to make sure.
Yep.
Luckily, it's Magic, so nothing particularly important happens in any given second.
Yeah, so we give our opponent 2 cards, and if they draw 2 pieces of burn, we lose. Yeah, what I will do is at least... Oh. Well, that's 1 piece of burn. That's what we call bad. And do they have a second lightning helix? Okay, yeah, we just lose. Okay, they just had the double burn anyway. Okay.
Hooray!
Yeah, that is a match that is incredibly hard for us to have any chance of winning, even on the best of days.
Because they were designed to... Yeah, where did they get the naturalize at?
I didn't... Well, whatever, I forgot to...
Yeah, we didn't need to ask them. We need to ask... there's a WotC in here somewhere.
So yeah, Zoo was a very powerful deck at the time. It was one of the like, it was such a good aggressive deck that got to use these early creatures to run under things like Loxodon Hierarch, and Flames of the Bloodhand allowed them to even have a counter for Loxodon Hierarch.
Because you just did not care if they gained life or not.
Yep. Did not care. It was completely irrelevant.
A deck very much like this would later return in New Rav, only it would be playing Boros Charm and Skullcrack, doing kind of the same thing.
Yep.
And like Boros Reckoner.
But yeah, so this is a hopefully we get enough. I want our final match to be against a third different deck so that I can fully talk about that one as well, and it'll be
this is called this chat is called the Zoo instead of the Zoo we just faced, because a long time ago Kaz referred to the Twitch chat as animals running the zoo, and zoo is a better name than chat, so we use the word zoo. A lot of times when I say the word zoo, I'm thinking of the big bird from Final Fantasy. Oh, how does this look?
not the greatest, but I'm keeping.
That seems capable.
Snow-covered island. Are we playing against the fake deck? I believe we're playing against the fake deck.
We're playing against Pickles, which is... I don't know why it's playing... Okay, it's playing Snow-Covered Island because of Phyrexian Ironfoot.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're playing against a deck that isn't real. We're playing against,
A deck playing Cryptic Command.
Hold on. Wait a minute. What are they... Do they have 2s?
No... They could...
I'm bouncing this.
They have Rune Snag.
I'm bouncing this. So, we're playing against the illegal deck in the format. This is a deck that is included, quote, it was included in honor of Paul Cheon joining R&D recently. We decided to use his deck here, even though it technically falls outside of the Gauntlet's window. It heavily falls outside of the Gauntlet's window, in fact.
So it's playing Cryptic Command. Yeah, Pickles was very real, but just not here.
Yeah, I'm deploying the Owl, by the way. Our opponent's at 7 cards in hand.
Yeah, deploy the Owl.
And I don't think they have easy ways to get them out of their hand. All their cards are quite expensive.
Yeah, the best they could do would be like, suspend Ancestral Visions and then not cast it when it unsuspends. Casts Phyrexian Ironfoot, or face down a Brine Elemental or a Shapeshifter.
If they have a Rune Snag, I'll remand it.
They have a Rune Snag. Man, Rune Snag was such a good counterspell.
Rune Snag was a very good counterspell. Ooh, an Exhaustion. So they're just going to die to the Owl here because they're a control deck. They're going to have a lot of problems getting cards out of their hand, and we can just sudden impact them if they tap. So they might try to play Phyrexian Ironfoot here. I don't have a lot to say about Pickles. Pickles was a deck that is a combo deck based around... Okay, O-Ring.
O-Ring the owl.
Yeah, they're going to O-Ring the Owl. I'm going to Exhaustion them.
If we exhaust them, we'll draw a bounce spell eventually.
Yep. And hopefully we draw a 5th. There we go.
We can exhaust and howl them.
So, Pickles is a deck based around a combo that is...
Vesuvian Shapeshifter and Brine Elemental.
Yes. So, Brine Elemental says when it is flipped face up, you...
Each opponent skips his or her next untap step, which basically does exhaustion. And then Vesuvian Shapeshifter has, when Vesuvian Shapeshifter comes into play or is turned to face up, you may choose another creature in play. If you do, until Shapeshifter is turned to face down, it becomes a copy of that creature with at the beginning of your upkeep. You may turn this face down. When you turn Vesuvian Shapeshifter up as Pickles, it does Pickles effect.
Yes.
So, but then you can just do that every upkeep. It's frankly a huge oversight. It's otherwise just playing a sort of control deck sort of thing. I don't really know what it's doing playing Phyrexian Ironfoot, just as like a large-ish creature.
As a large-ish creature, yeah. Anyway, we're going to keep exhausting them. We're going to Pickles. So Pickles' thing is not allowing your opponent to untap their lands at all, and we're just going to go ahead and do that.
And then I think next turn we try to cast Sudden Impact. Yeah, because we'll have Sudden Impact with Remand backup.
Yeah.
So if they try to Cryptic us, we just Remand the Cryptic. Although they'd be like trying to Rune Snag us.
Yeah, they might try to Rune Snag us. Kind of want to bounce the O-Ring and just get that going, because that would be a lot safer.
At some point, yeah.
Oh, we have double Remand backing us up.
So do you want to try impacting them on their turn?
Yeah.
There's a dead card.
Hell, I might just wait until end step to try to do it. Because I could impact them now for a guaranteed hit.
Yeah, but if we do it on their turn, they'll have more cards in hand.
Yeah, let's wait till theirs.
Plus, they might try to play something.
Yeah, they're going to have 10 cards in hand.
So if they... This Sudden Impact will kill them if it resolves.
Nimbus Maze.
I love Nimbus Maze.
It's a fun one.
I like all of those weird duels. The only one that sees play is Horizon Canopy. Okay.
Let's throw lethal damage at you.
They could have Cryptic and Rune Snag.
They do have Rune Snag. That one's known.
Yeah.
Let's see what their combo is. What do they want to do with the Cryptic they're going to be casting here? Okay, bounce my Kami of the Crescent Moon. I'm going to go ahead and try and remand their Cryptic in order to get them to Rune Snag and tap out.
This will get Cryptic out of their hand and Rune Snag out of their hand. And then, unbeknownst to them, we have another Sudden Impact and another Remand.
So here's the Rune Snag countering our remand.
So pay 2 for a Rune Snag?
Yep. And then we draw 2. I can Sudden Impact them.
Put them to 2. That would make them die to us drawing a Boomerang. Unless they counter it, or a Cryptic on their upkeep to bounce it.
Yeah.
But they are completely tapped out.
Let's put our opponent to 2. One more Ebony Owl will finish the game, so...
Or they could just get attacked twice by Kami of the Crescent Moon.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for them to deploy anything of real threat right here because of the remand.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have double Cryptic mana, which is important.
Yeah, don't tap all your white. Okay, Phyrexian Ironfoot.
We'll remand that to try to draw.
That seems fair.
If they counter it, they counter it.
You like Cryptic bouncing Kami again?
Maybe. Okay. Maybe they have a... No, they don't have a real threat they wanted to land.
They didn't cast the Ironfoot again.
Eye of Nowhere, which should win us the game on resolution, on getting our Ebony Owl back.
But they're definitely... Oh, we got 2. Okay.
Yeah, okay. We'll go to combat first.
They might be afraid of Kami of the Crescent Moon.
Wow.
Or we have another owl. Okay. I think we're pretty unstoppable in this current juncture.
Any one of those 3 cards resolving results in the end of this game.
Yeah, we could Eye of Nowhere a land if we wanted to.
If I was going to do that, I should have done it in main 1.
Yeah, so we could move past. But if they Cryptic here, then we just...
Eye again, like it doesn't...
We Eye again or play another... I think we Eye and play the Owl, so they can't, like, use their 2 other Cryptics. Okay. Conveniently, the Oblivion Ring gives them 7 cards in hand.
Mm-hmm. They might have an instant that they can throw away.
No, it's just either a Cryptic, which would have to cycle, or Rune Snag.
They could tap bounce.
They could tap bounce, that's right.
Looks like that's what they're doing. Oh no, they have Venser.
They have Venser. I didn't see Venser, yeah. Venser and Teferi are both...
The problem is they still have to deal with, like, Owl, you know? Like, this is not an easy place to be. So they're going to O-ring the other Ebony Owl. Because they have to, right? Like
They have to. They didn't.
Interesting.
They're gonna have another Venser.
Well, we have a sudden impact, so if they tap out to, like, do anything to stop us, we kill them.
You also have a Pizza Boomerang. Maybe take the shock here.
Yeah.
No reason not to.
I'm gonna bounce land and move to second main. Like...
Okay. Tap. How much is their Rune Snag?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, now they're casting. Okay, I was afraid of their big Rune Snag, because that I think could stop sudden impact. But if they're doing this, like if they're Vincering now, then they're just finished.
Yeah,
The Owls!
The
They're not
Owl.
what they seem! This is Kaz's favorite card.
So the Owl has an intervening if on the card, meaning that if the effect is not true on resolution, it will not fully resolve its effect. I'm just gonna sudden impact here for the game.
Although I think Kaz's favorite card is actually Lodestone Golem. He said it was Ebony Owl Netsuit.
This is definitely the sort of match we want as well. So, Pickles was a popular deck for the beginning of the Time Spiral Lorwyn format, up until Bitter Blossom existed. So, about 3 months.
It turns out if you're not untapping, but you get a counter every turn, it doesn't matter.
I don't think there's anything else I care about. Our deck is made to beat this sort of thing. Like, Evac is even worth it as a way to interact with their... With
the pickles and the
pickles.
and the shapeshifter.
So the
The
scariest
old,
card they have against us might be Teferi, actually.
yeah, Teferi would be pretty scary against us. Yes.
Is Mana Leak better then? Because that would be.
Monolink might be better, just to be like stuff them a little earlier, be able to do counter wars when we're actually doing our stuff.
Let's do that. All right. So the standard gauntlet here is again it's time spiral. Or it's Ravnica format, but this feels more like the time spiral. This deck is from time
Cold
spiral.
snap. We're doing a cold snap
Holy
one.
shit! Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Hell yeah, hell dude. We get to play our Kami of Crescent Moon.
Mm-hmm. So we get to keep this.
They're mulliganing down. Another opponent mulliganing down on purpose in order to beat our Howling Minds.
Yeah. Let's sleight of hand.
I will double make sure they don't have 2-drops that they sided board into.
Do I care about another Kami? Or do I just want mana sources?
We might. I think we want mana sources here. We'll find more Howling Minds.
Yeah.
Like if that were Howling Mine, I'd go the other way. But
yeah, because it can't
our
double
opponent,
up.
yeah, our opponent is unlikely to kill our Kami of Ancient Lob. So the thing they've sideboarded in is their other Oblivion Ring, certainly.
Do they have the Rune Snag to stop me? I would rather they Rune Snag the Boomerang than the Kami, which is why I'm doing it in this order.
They also have. Would they bring in like fairy trickery?
They might just have more interaction with me.
Like take out their Wrath of God. I would also take out the Ancestrals, just because we're doing that for them. Okay. And we're taking the damage. I
want the draw.
I think we do too. We have Howling Mind, Leaf Up Boomerang / Remand next turn.
Charge pool.
They're charging their Calciform. The storage lands used to see these things.
Yeah. So they get another card. They might. They probably boarded out their Wraths as well, right? They had 3 Wraths.
I'm imagining. Yeah, the 3x Wrath of Gods are out. Oblivion Ring probably came in. Maybe Fairy Trickery or Jace. I have 2x Little Jace.
Right,
I doubt they would bring in even Rift Watcher.
I'm gonna go for Howling Mine pass turn here.
Yeah.
Now again, Teferi is a card I sort of have to play a little bit around.
Mm-hmm.
And let's combat is fine because they only have 4. They cannot Teferi me in combat. Okay, we are fixing their mulligan, but that's okay. That's the entire point of the deck. They're going to charge the Calciform pools more. So the pools, you can pay 1 and remove any number of counters for that much mana.
Mm-hmm. They're decent lands. They're good for dirtle decks like this where you're not doing anything.
Storage lands can spend mana tapped. You only need to spend 1 of any. You can spend mana with any land. So like, ooh, well, where's this factory?
Another way to win.
Yep.
They're just 7 mana, make it 2/2.
I'm likely going to remand whatever happens on this turn. That isn't suspended ancestral visions. They believe that they want that.
Yeah, I would have maybe boarded those out, because, like, with the 2 Howling Minds in play, we're drawing plenty of cards. Everybody is.
Yeah. Okay, it's going to be hard for us to catch them for an exhaustion.
It could be good in, like, a counter war situation. Is this a term for just tapped Steam Vents, or do we want to...
What's attacking?
I don't think we're going to,
I'm contemplating bouncing their
mana
Calciform pools.
Just bounce it right now. That seems fine. You can Steam Vents tapped here.
Yeah, that's safe. Again, we want to kind of catch them tapped out. Are they going to use it? Maybe for like a cryptic or something.
I mean, they're just gonna like,
They could try to Teferi here.
maybe they could float it.
Is this them trying to Teferi?
Teferi would be pretty poor.
This rules, actually.
Oh yes,
Oh my goodness, we caught them tapped out.
We just exhaust, right?
Yeah,
Like sure. I guess we're not playing Steam Vents.
that's why I waited on it.
Yeah.
Like we caught you pressing buttons, you know? Like,
Yeah. Zwank. I like how we get like the, what is that? Tempest art? Not Tempest. Yeah, Urza's Destiny. I think Destiny is the gears. I guess we're free to do whatever we want on this turn. If you just want to fireball them.
kind of don't.
Then we can just play Kami and like hold up stuff.
I don't want to have this game go too much longer, but I also don't know if I want to throw 6 points of burn at them right now.
Yeah.
Like, mostly because I want to leave Remand up. I may attempt the end step on it, just to see what their reaction is.
You could draw another exhaustion.
Yeah.
Cool. Plus if they take 9, then... And they have to have something.
Yeah, they need to make some sort of play. Jace.
Okay, Jace.
Guess I could kill Jace.
They might plus Jace. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Don't give a shit. What's
Thank you.
Jace's ult?
Yes! Exhaustion's here. Mill. It's Mill.
Mill 20. Yeah. Like, we can attack Jace if we desperately need to.
If they tap out any lower, they're gonna die.
Okay. Honko!
Would you like to
I love the
redirect
guy-
this?
I love the...
No.
No. I love the face on the sudden impact guy. He's just like, oh. They aren't technically dead though.
No, we need to find a way to...
We need to draw an owl.
Mm-hmm.
Another sudden impact.
Whatever, we have
anything.
exhaustions too for this turn, so like we have time. Hell, I could exhaust
Plenty of
them and
time.
just do it on their turn, right? Like,
Yeah, we could totally do that. They have Urza's factory untapped.
yeah, like they can't stop me.
And we draw the owl anyways.
Yeah, so I'm just going to exhaust them. And put a stop on their draw step. That's my turn, opponent's turn.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, because
So-
they cannot stop this.
They're going to draw 3 cards and then get blasted by
Now-
a guy with an exploding head.
One thing I want to say is that this is definitely a one-shot wonder of a deck. Like, this deck only existed in certain forms, in certain places, but the spirit of this deck has come back in different formats.
Just recently, there was a Fever Dreams deck in Shadow over Innistrad Standard. It was around just for like a little period of time, but Fever Dreams was basically a Howling Mine that has its own burn built into it.
Yeah. Like, we've had Fever Dreams versions of this deck. Anywhere we've had multiple, like, Howling Mind style effects, we've had this sort of...
Fevered Visions, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Fevered Visions, that is the name of the card. But yeah, this is a very, like, while this deck only existed at this one point in time, the many different types of decks existed with this in mind. You're playing a game of, I'm going to go down on cards by bouncing your lands, or fogging. Turbo Fog is a very
Turbo
good
Fog
sense
is,
in
yeah.
many ways.
Playing things like Gnaw to the Bone and just like every... And like the Fall You Drown Yard. Like, that was just stuff.
But yeah, we got to talk about a lot of the decks. I plan on doing another one of these later. Hopefully we'll get to talk about the other half of the decks in here. We have 5 decks we didn't touch. Ghazi Glare, a deck that is based around Glare. I'll quick touch on all of them. I'm gonna
Now
quick.
let's okay from the top.
So Glare of Subdual is the main card, the only card I need to show you from this deck. This is just gonna be the quick ending of it because this is the end of the stream for tonight. I just wanted to do this quick, and we're gonna do another one of these at a later date, sometime this week. But Glare of Subdual was a green-white deck that played Glare of Subdual to tap down everything your opponent controlled because it could generate tokens. The token generation was made off of where is
There's Selesnya Guildmage could do it. Yeah, and then Vitu-Ghazi, the City Tree, could do it.
Vitu-Ghazi, the City Tree, made 1/1 Saproling tokens.
Seed Spark.
Yeah. Selesnya Guildmage. So it used that card to lock your opponent out of the game by using these 1/1 tokens to tap down any threat they made. And then it won with threats such as Loxodon, Hierarch, or this list plays Kodama of the North Tree, but...
Which is a big Shroud Crawworm.
Yeah, it is opposition, but it is a fixed opposition, but it is a real deck.
It's still bullcrap as it turns out.
Yeah. The fun fact I loved about that was that people look, bad opposition's still one of the best cards in the format. So
definitely.
Anyway, the deck that deck lasted for almost a full year. It had variants. It had a lot of variants during the Kamigawa Ravnica era, but it also still existed when Time Spiral came around. So
there was a lot of token generation in Time Spiral.
Yeah. We talked about Greater Good Gifts. We talked about Zoo. We did not talk about Hand in Hand. Hand in Hand is one of the many black-white decks in the format. This is this one's not one I can show off as much, but it was an aggressive deck that valued hand control.
Yeah, it's playing things like Shrieking Grotesque, Ravenous Rats, and Okiba Gang Shinobi in order to sort of eat your hand, playing 4x Castigate, which is just a really good hand disruption.
Shrieking Grotesque is a 2/1 flyer that made your opponent discard. Castigate, which was a very powerful discard spell because it exiled the card. And as we saw, a number of the decks that we've seen have some sort of we have seen recursion effects in the format. And we'll see more when we talk about another deck coming up.
Plus, it can hit anything that's not a land.
Of course, this was a black aggressive deck, so it ran our good friend Dark Confidant.
At any cost.
People will talk about Ghost Dad as the other black-white deck in the format that was a lot funner and had a much more interesting engine. I'll leave that till another time to talk about. But Hand in Hand was a very good deck. It was a bit of a straightforward aggressive deck with some good pieces of interaction.
And it's called Hand in Hand because you played Hand of Cruelty with Hand of Honor. This one's playing Paladin in Vec instead of Hand of Honor.
Yeah, Hand of Cruelty is a 2/2 pro-white Bushido 1 samurai. Hand of Honor is the opposite. Hand of Cruelty was the more useful of the two in a lot of instances, as white creatures and white things were a little more prevalent. Locks it on Hierarch. Zoo as an aggressive deck, you could block anything out of it and you couldn't die to a Lightning Helix. Fate's Fetters couldn't touch you.
And Paladin, in fact, is just a Grey Ogre with first strike, per red, per black.
All right. Moving along, Owling Mind we touched. Solar Flare. I'm not going to talk too much into why Solar Flare is. There's a lot of different variants of Solar Flare, but Solar Flare at its heart is a control deck that recurs their large threats with some sort of 4-mana sorcery. This one uses Zombify to recur either Yosei the Morningstar or Angel of Despair, which is a card you may recognize from a lot of places. This is a card that's seen a lot of play. I remember seeing it as a sideboard against what's the name of the card? Show and Tell.
Yeah.
But you would cast this and then it would die and then you just zombify it again. You would use Wrath of God and Mortify.
You also had Compulsive Research you could use to dump things in the yard. But just draw 3, discard 2. Like you're discarding your Yosei and your Angel of Despair. Who cares?
Yeah, Compulsive Research. You could discard the things on 3 and then buy them back on 4. Reanimation Control is the quick way to put it. It also got to play Signets for a lot of good fixing. Its mana base looks like hell, but it works. Solar Flare in this variant is a Kamigawa Ravnica deck, but it had a powerful variant after that as well. That focused that used because this one reanimates Yosei and Angel of Despair, whereas the Ravnica Time Spiral one
There's a creature you might have heard
Yeah,
of.
there's a creature you might have heard of that got a reprint in Time Spiral
Just
here, named a Chroma
yeah,
Angel of Wrath.
white creatures with haste.
So, like, later variants used Resurrection to pick up Resurrection being a Zombify in white that was also reprinted in Time Spiral. Anyway, Solar Flare was a very fun deck. It was around a lot. And the last two decks we need to touch on are red blue decks. We have Dragon Storm.
A true time spiral deck.
Now,
Almost all these cards are time spiral
yeah,
or
well,
cold snap.
yeah, Dragon Storm was first printed in Scourge, but did not really see any play there, as it didn't have a way to just win the game off of its grabbing cards. Dragon Storm in Standard was incredibly powerful. This was one of the when I talked about the format having control, aggro, and combo. This was one of the strong combo options, maybe the strongest, as it kept getting stronger as the new cards were added. Even this deck existed in Ravnica Time Spiral and also existed in Time Spiral Lorwyn, because in Lorwyn it got access to Nullspine Bluff. So
Yeah, but
the,
if you're playing someone playing Dragonstorm and they Lotus Bloom on turn one, you're
yeah.
going to have a difficult
Now,
time getting through it.
the way Dragonstorm worked is that you would use cards such as from Cold Snap, we
Rite of
had
Flame.
Rite of Flame, which adds double red to your mana pool and an additional red for each copy of it in the yard.
So it starts as a bad dark crit, becomes a better dark crit. A Seething Song.
Which was in Mirrodin, but it was also reprinted in 9th edition, which is 3 for 5 mana. And Lotus Bloom, which I cannot spell correctly. Lotus Bloom here you may have seen in cubes, suspends for 3 turns and is a black lotus when it comes in. The idea would be that you would play this on 1, and then on turn 4 you would Lotus Bloom, crack your Lotus Bloom, play a Seething Song, play a Rite of Flame, and then Dragonstorm for 4. Well, what did your Dragonstorm grab? Well, once you Dragonstorm for 4, you would grab Bogarden Hellkite.
And if for some reason some of your Bogarden Hellkites were in your hand or somehow or got discarded or something, you've also played some Hunted Dragons, which are just 6/6s with haste.
Yep.
Which also work.
Yep. So you would win the game on the spot against an opponent at 20 or less life. I've talked about it also got to use one of the best cards it had as a anti control piece. The way that it was able to beat control was a card called Giga Drowse.
Because this is a replicate spell, when you use this to tap all your opponent's lands, they can't counter all of them.
Yeah, the way that you would usually fight a Giga Drowse is that you would tap all your lands and then rewind against the last copy. If you could. The final deck in here is it Tron? This uses the
Urza's Land. This is a ancestor to a modern deck.
Yeah, so Urza's lands are you have Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower. They can tap for 1 colorless, but if you control all 3, they tap for 2, 4, 7 total.
So on turn 3, you can produce 7 mana. Now, can you think of anything interesting to do with that, players at home?
Yeah. Now, the cool part of what made this deck. This deck was a blue-red. It's called Is It Tron for a reason. Let me show you the card that makes this deck function.
Yep, you're playing Signets. Not only are you're playing 4x Is-It Signet and 2x Dimir Signet.
Now, so you would play control with a number of normal control pieces. You had Monolink in your deck. You had
Electrolyze,
Electrolyze, but then you got to play some interesting win conditions, and some of them are a little more obvious when you think about it. One of the funniest ones in the deck is a card called Demon Fire,
which is just Blaze.
Yeah, if you have no cards in hand other than the Demon Fire when you cast it, so if that was your final card, it cannot be countered.
It's basically just Blaze.
Yeah. The version in the cube is not the Landsteel version sword. The Landsteel version was it does sideboard the annexes though. There was a version that more specifically did focus on the land stealing, playing annexes and Dream Leash.
There's also
But there's actually one card I want to talk about that is the most powerful card in the deck that is not immediately apparent, and that is Spell Burst.
This thing is when you're playing Urza lands. This thing is a lot like what's the other one with the buyback counter spell?
Forbid?
Forbid. This is like better Forbid when you're
Yeah.
when you're playing Urza's land.
This is the card that meant that you were shut out of the game, because once they had a bunch of Urza's lands and signets and lands, the deck plays 29 mana sources with the signets, between the signets and the lands. Once Spellburst is up and they have 13 mana, that is a very much a lockout. You just can't get through this. They can keep buying it back for nothing, and then even if they do, they still have cards like Repeal to get your permanents back into their hand, into your hand. So
The sideboard is also really cute because it's playing 3x Bottle Gnomes
yep.
and a Mystical Teachings.
Bottle Gnomes, which still here, was big enough to compete with like zoo level creatures because it was a 1/3.
It was a 1/3. Also, damage on the stack meant that you could do tricks with it.
Yep. So anyway, that is, and then we saw Pickles, which was not here. There's a ton of other decks that weren't shown off in this. Dralnu was the one I wish Pickles was. Dralnu was a hell of a deck back in the day. Would make you appreciate your Snapcasters. Project
Dralnu
X,
was played where people played Shock.
yeah,
Yes.
or Helix. So
Yes.
Um,
Char.
yeah, Dralnu was something. We had other decks in the format. Project X, which was an infinite combo involving Crypt Champion and Safi Eriksdotter. There was Ghost Dad, which a lot of people have talked about. We've had different Magnivore variations, like Wildfire Magnivore, Ida Nowhere Magnivore, that sort of thing.
Played a little bit like Owling Mine, but
Yeah.
a little weirder.
What else? We had. I talked about Beach House as a deck, just a mid-range. There were a number of mid-range decks that were like green, white, black that would play like Faith's Fetters, Loxodon Hierarch to beat the early game decks, and then like things that would play like Graveshell Scarab as this infinitely recurring threat to beat everything else. There were so many different decks in the format. Ravnica Standard is such a great time.
Well beloved for a reason.
Anyway, that is all for today. We'll be doing one more of these later, as I said. So, not today. Today, I just wanted to do this one and show off the format that I love so much. I could talk about this forever, and I will once we do another one of these. So,
You know what I would really appreciate from Moto? Instead of doing a standard gauntlet, what if they did a few extended gauntlets?
oh god, that'd be...
Yeah, instead of bringing back old standard formats, which standard is still a format that exists, bring back a format that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So, anyway, thank you everybody for joining. I hope you got some a fun insight into the format. As much as I wasn't wanting to get Owling Mine, I am happy with how it ended up and happy that we got to show off this very silly deck that is definitely a precursor to a lot that it still exists. But
I was fixing to say, we were bemoaning the fact that we got Owling Mine. Wasn't so bad, was it?
No, like well, like the competitiveness of me wants to get like a deck that has a chance against aggro,
Yeah.
So
Or a weakness.
Yeah.
We got our 1 in 9 horrible matchup.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for joining. If you want to see more stuff like this, we will be doing more cards as time goes on. So if you stick around and follow, that would be great. If you really want to support what's going on in the channel, you can always subscribe. It's great. You get access to a really cool emote, and you get to, help out the channel.
Yeah.
And you could also maybe go check out my friend Gnomebitten here over at Twitch,
I'm Gnomebitten.
or at twitch.tv/Gnomebitten.
Streaming Fable tomorrow.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
Maybe. I don't have anything planned for it yet.
I'm sure it'll be fun at least. So anyway, that is all for tonight. Thank you all for joining, and have a good night, everybody.
Good night.